Kien, welcome. Thank you for your time and taking the time to be on the Crossroadz COVID-19 edition. You're the third guest over Zoom. And yeah, it looked like you're at least cozy enough up in California. How has that been for you? And how has this new work life been for you, coming from the East Coast to now working at Argonauts?
I mean, California's chill. It's a lot more laid back, but I mean, I'm just kind of in the industry where you just have to grind nonstop regardless. You know what I mean? And for this whole COVID thing, I've been pretty cozy just working. That's really about it. I'm pretty blessed because not everyone is in my position. A lot of people are out of work, especially in my line, no matter what it is. And yeah, I count my blessings every day.
Yeah, dude, definitely. What do you think that your position, having maintained your position through all of this, that's something that you set yourself up for, like being indispensable? Or do you believe it's like a
Um,
lot of just luck? I'm curious about that.
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, like it depends what industry you're in, dude. Like if you're in the kind of industry where there's gonna be mass layoffs, like if you work in the airlines, forget it, you're out. It really depends, even if you're good. Like if, you know, first and foremost, at the very top of things, like you're working for a business, and if the business not bringing money in, they're gonna be chopping off their expenses, and the first people to go are usually the employees.
That's true. As a senior art director, which is your current position, right?
Yeah.
For art or not? Yeah. So as that position, what have you guys been up to? Has your work schedule or intent or projects changed at all because of this crisis, or is it still pretty
Yeah.
much? Yeah. So how has that been?
I mean, like projects are always changing on the fly in the ad industry. Like, everyone knows the stereotype that like work in advertising is gonna be massive amount of hours. It's a lot more. Like, I think the pleasure is like the fact that I haven't cut my hair and I look like a mess. I just roll out better and I just work. But the work is more intense. I mean, when you work in an agency, usually you work physically in person and you just go up to someone and get things confirmed and done for the day. Now it's kind of like reserved and scheduled through Zoom meetings and like forcing people to get on the phone with you. So it gets a lot trickier. Um, and also, it's the fact that people know that you're available at home because of COVID. Like, you can't escape that. Like, if you don't pick up, it's just kind of weird.
For sure. I'm glad to hear that it's things are still rolling. The ball's still rolling. You're overcoming it. So, regarding your title and your position as art director, can you kind of break that down to somebody who might not know exactly what that role entails and the responsibilities and skills that come with it?
Well, I mean, art director can be different things for different industries. Like if you talk about the film industry, it's one thing. If you talk about advertising, it's another. So in advertising, I, I'm responsible for coming up with ideas, and I am responsible for conveying those ideas primarily in a visual craft. So generally in advertising, there's two different types of creatives. There's a copywriter that comes up with the language. Those are the people that come up with like the sentence, the word statements in the ad. And they're the ones that have to describe and sell an idea. And then there's art directors, which we do sell the ideas regardless, but our main role is to basically visually direct what it's going to look like.
Got it.
And
Okay.
and with advertising, there's different dimensions. There's social, there's billboard, there's print, there's broadcast. It really just depends. So there's an art director and copyright. There's a creative for like every different industry. So it's a very loose term, but primarily first and foremost, an art director is basically responsible for a visual direction of an idea.
Perfect. Okay. That clarifies a lot of things. Can you take us through your trajectory from, I want to go way back, just like let's say 2005 when you started breaking. I don't know if that was your first passion, but just something that was one of the things that you decided to pick up. Let's start from breaking and how that went from picking up photography, right? And then getting into school, going to ad school. Can you kind of bring us through that trajectory and how you ended up here as a senior art director and how you think all these different things that you've played with have intercommunicated with each other?
Uh, it's strange. I'm just ADD. I just go with whatever goes with the flow. I get bored really fast. So I don't know. I mean, I started breaking because it was a thing to do in high school. Obviously, everyone kind of started because they want to learn to move it too. whether it's to just impress a girl or because you thought it was cool or you watch a kung fu flick, whatever it is. So for me, I just wanted to just learn how to dance, but and then a lot of my local homies that live in my town, like a few blocks away, also started breaking. So it wasn't hard for us to just kind of form a crew together in high school. And we've been breaking ever since then. I mean, like now we're all grown up and stuff and everyone's doing their thing. But for the time being, we were really crushing and just living the life as a breaker. And then what was the other question? Sorry.
That was what was the name of your crew? Your very first crew?
Five Crew Dynasty.
Oh,
My only
that
crew
was
actually.
oh, that was you. Were you one of the founding members of that?
No. I
Oh,
was
okay.
I mean I was technically second gen, but I mean like I joined like a few weeks or a few months I can't remember at this point. But I
Okay.
pretty much joined right after the crew was created, but I wasn't there when the crew was made.
Got it. That's a like Five Crew Dynasty is definitely a name out there that people know in the breaking scene. And so I remember yeah, I was watching all this stuff and I met you after you kind of you said you stopped, right? Like around 2014, 2015 or like
Yeah.
5ish, 6 years ago, right? So um I was watching old footage and I was really impressed. I was like, damn, King got the stacks. It's crazy. So that
Yeah.
was cool to watch. And the other question that I was asking, linking to that, is can you tell us a little bit about how you picked up, I believe, your first skill after that you wanted to go really into in was photography, right? And how did
Yeah.
that carry you to ending up going to school and then later going to an art school?
With photography, I mean, I just like originally, when I was in breaking scene, there was a channel called Strike TV. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And if the audience isn't familiar with it, it was pretty much a channel for breaking that predated Stance Elements and all these other channels that exist these days. And yeah, like my crew and I, we would travel and everything, on our own wallet, when we were creating our name. And there was no one to document us. And we were going to be like, I don't know if we're going to be dope enough that, Stripe is going to cover us or whoever else is there. It is what it is. So I just picked up a camera and just started just basically documenting my crew. And, it's like, regardless of the events or not, it's the fact that we're traveling. And I want to kind of like relive these moments later on, when I look back through like my catalog and everything. So that's how I first got a camera. I purchased my first DSLR, and then I decided to just like kind of like push it and everything. And at some point, I did want to get a little bit more like serious with photography. And the reason why was it sounds really dumb as fuck, but it's I mean, Spike gets you places. I kind of wanted to beat the crap out of this photographer that disrespected me locally in like my town. He had nothing to do with breaking, so I took the whole like breaking mentality of I'm gonna smoke you, and I decided to actually like take photography from a hobby to like something like to like another level. And I thought in my head, what's the best one? What's the best thing I want to shoot? Well, I don't want to shoot headshots. I think it's boring. I mean, respect to the people that do it, it's just not my taste. I don't shoot weddings. I don't shoot landscapes. I mean, they're all fun, but it's like if I really think about it, do I want to make this like what I'm known for? I mean, not really, but I mean, I'll shoot on the side. Do I want to shoot boudoir? Like, all right, women are great, they're sexy and everything, but it doesn't float my boat at the end of the day. Like everything is a one-off to me, but the only thing that kind of still revolved and kept me around was breaking. So I got really deep into that. And the other reason why I excelled really fast was I made myself like an impossible goal. Like within 1 year of taking photography serious, I made a goal. I was like, you know what? I want to get my first commercial photography job. I was like, let me try advertising. Let me try doing commercial work. I didn't know what it was at that time, and now it makes more sense to me than ever. But at that time, I just want to get work. So I was like, what? Let me just dive in deep real hard with the breaking scene and try to get work from Red Bull because they were already in the breaking scene as well. So let me just kind of like show up my talent and show up everywhere. I got to a point where like I was shooting everything and everything. I was contacting people on LinkedIn. I was trying everything I possibly can. Like I really wanted it bad. Like I really wanted it bad. I was obsessing every day about it. And I think these were like the points that pushed off and made this possible because I realized like photography is a hard hustle. It's like I mean pick up a camera and shooting a couple of nice photos. Like anyone could do it within a year or two, but like getting to a certain level where you get work and everything and certain level of respect, it's hard. It's a grind. And if there's a lot of people out there that know how to do it and are good at it, you're gonna have to want it more than the others. That's just really what it boils down to. And I wanted it more than everyone else.
That's true. That you definitely. I've looked through your work ethic and your work, and and followed kind of your journey through Facebook and all these other things that you posted, and your work ethic is definitely there. Now what I'm really curious about is there's that one thing, right? The spites, right? That's a pretty unique driver that I don't hear a lot of people like that trying to outclass somebody. Well, I guess it does in the right context. It can really get someone far. But I feel as if there is more there. Within that 1 year that you cited that you wanted to achieve a commercial gig, something really grabbed you and really motivated you to work and grind and hustle and figure out how to do that. And I think through a combination of persistence and also drivers, you did manage to achieve that. There's one thing that I wanted to ask you about that I feel like you might have an inclination towards, just because I feel like a lot of the things you do in your work, whether that be photography, like working with people, at agencies, like working with clients, being able to talk to people, it's empathy, right? Being able to understand what your client wants or what the person that you're working with is like and how to best fulfill their needs. Is that something, empathy in particular, that you feel was put into as a child, or do you feel like you just had a natural inclination to it? Is that something that you resonate towards, that specific skill?
I think everything kind of boiled down to these days, all the way till now was completely learned. I mean, I think it was just primarily the drive, like I don't know. I'm not naturally talented at anything, to be honest. Like I think the one thing that I have going for me is if I want something bad, I just go for it, and I'll do it 100%, and I'll dive like all my defocus into it and learn the ins and out of everything. And I think this is like the extra mile that people have to take if they want to get good at something. Um, I mean, there's different things I've tried in the past, and if I don't have that certain level of like focus, I don't get good at it. That's just simply what it is. So with photography, I obsessed like crazy over it, even with the dance. Like dance was cool, like it's like something I did for fun. It's something I'm passionate about, something I love. Something I still stick around the scene and everything. But with photography, it was like a certain different level. I think that spite was like a really huge catalyst that drove me to get better than this person. And at the same time, unfortunately, in the first year, I actually didn't get any photo gigs commercial wise. But I think because I set such a goal really high up top, because like, who's gonna really like, what kind of brands are really gonna trust you in your first year to have that kind of experience to make sure you deliver something? I mean, you could, or you're risking that you don't. But I think that certain level of push, that impossible goal I kind of had in my head, like really pushed me over the top. And about a year and a half, yeah, about a year and a half, I actually signed on to with UDEF and the rest of the Pro Rigging Tour.
That was within a year
So
and a half.
technically, yeah, about.
Damn.
So technically, I technically started working with, I guess, Monster as a sponsor because they're one of the affiliates with the tour at that time. So technically, it ended up working with another energy drink brand. Apparently, it was Red Bull's competitor, but um, I ended up hitting my goal, and I was not expecting that actually. You know?
You did. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
hella impressive.
and yeah, and I mean at the time, I think signing on with them for the last like I don't know like 5 6 years. I don't know how long it's been, but
Damn.
it's definitely been more than 5 years. Signing with them, like it's really improved my photography because like I really wanted bad. It sounded like they gave me the opportunity to travel and to do these gigs and to work with a lot of people. It helped. I think they're the reason why I consistently had a ton of images constantly pumped out, content pumped out, and I was able to create like a social media following of Instagram with that.
Oh, okay, I
And,
see.
and yeah, things came full circle, because I always had content to pump and everything, and because I was constantly shooting and constantly traveling, constantly working, like I was constantly getting better. People and I had this reputation where people just knew that I wasn't home at all times, that I was off somewhere. I was always traveling, and sometimes I wouldn't travel for a few months, and people would think that I'm somewhere else. It's kind of crazy, but this whole reputation, all these skills, and all the like everything kind of came full circle, you know. But I think initially, like, you know, I think I also kind of lucked out because at the time the pro Breaking tour was started, and they eventually boiled down to the fact that you know, they did a bit of video, but they kind of needed someone to fill in as a photographer. And you know, for the time being, even for a very short amount of time, there wasn't a lot of people shooting breaking, at least in the United States. So I kind of just, you know, it kind of just fell in my lap.
Yeah, you fulfilled the
Um,
need.
you know, primarily I also wasn't doing this to like for money. You know, I was doing this as a challenge. But the other thing was like I wanted to contribute to a culture that, you know, that really like fulfilled my needs, and it really made me grow as a person. Like I've been in breaking for more than 10 years by now. I don't know how long it's been, since like 14, 15 years. I don't know.
15, yeah, almost 15 at least.
14, 15,
Yeah.
something like that. And you know, like it's taught me a lot, you know, just the whole culture in general. So I think photography was also another way for me to give back to the community. So I think it all made sense to me that it was like definitely something that I was passionate about and something that I felt good about, you know, giving back. And then, you know, luckily, you know, I had sponsors that helped me out. They paid me and got me out to different places because, you know, trying to trying to be a photographer and document without some sort of funding is extremely difficult. It will burn a hole in your wallet. So, you know, it really helped me like turn this into like something sustainable for myself, and you know, turn my passion into something that made me a bit of money.
Is that something that was one of your intentions? I mean, obviously, because your goal was to get a commercial job, which is a job, right, or work. Is
Yeah,
so when you were formulating this plan, um, was this also with the intention like this is what I want to do for a living, and was it specifically for breaking? Because I remember you said commercial work, but then your first commercial gig ended up being a breaking gig. Was that your
yep.
goal, or was that just something that happened? Like it was a happy happenstance.
I think it was just a foot in the door. You know, it was just like a foot in the door to get into other work and everything. And then you know, and then next thing you knew, I'm shooting nothing but breaking, and I'm getting gigs on the side. You know, I'm getting headshots I want. Sometimes I get commercial gigs. Sometimes I get influencer gigs off Instagram. You know, it kind of what came like things kind of came every here and there and everything. And then, you know, I think I just had the epitome to like just go to ad school because I was like, you know, like, photography, it's not a job to me. It's more of a journey, just like breaking is. It's really like a journey. It's about self-development, and it's me having a relationship with this craft. And sometimes I'm happy, and sometimes I'm sad about it. Sometimes, you know, it gives me all sorts of emotions and experiences. Uh, and it's really connected me with people around the world. But I think deep inside, I feel like on on executional craft, I performed very well as a photographer, and I got to a point where like I got kind of bored because I wasn't learning. And the other motivation for me to learn photography was it was something fresh. I had open eyes. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, so I was just trying everything. But as soon as I started figuring things out, and you know, photography became very predictable, especially shooting out a lot. I kind of felt like I was burning out. So I was like, you know, like I want to do more work, but like I'm really good at executing something, but I want to know how to come up with ideas and stories. So I got to ad school because I was like, you know, let me learn how to basically concept. I think my concepting side of me was a little bit kind of weak. So you know, like I went to ad school for that, and next thing you know, I kind of liked it. Also, one funny thing was when I was applying, I applied to this school called Miami Art School. It's one of the top advertising schools in the world, and there's like different, like the original schools in Miami, but there's a lot of different schools around the world, like Madrid, New York, um, uh, San Francisco. There's a bunch. I can't. There's a lot of schools, but anyways, Yeah, I actually didn't know what an art director was. I was just like, oh, they do visual stuff. Maybe if I do this, I'll get more like commercial work. I'll become better as a photographer. Maybe this and that. And next thing you know, I just fell into liking what my role was as an art director was, and I just kind of just went with it and just pursued it. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got into the ad agency world. I went to school for it, and I kind of had that certain level of focus that I threw from in photography into ad school, just to kind of learn everything about it. And yeah, here I am.
The choice to go to school, I feel that requires a certain leap to go back to school. But it did sound like it made the most sense to you in terms of like the next step in your career development.
Yeah.
How exactly is that? Was that the main driver? And what was there any specific occurrences in your life or events that was telling you, oh, it was burning out photography? Was that one of them, right? That was kind of telling you to just try something new and to
Yeah.
develop new skills. Okay, got it. So I guess the question I would have at that point would be how you said you can be pretty ADD about things and you can get bored of things easily, right? So I wanted to know what are the key factors for you. So let's take photography for instance. That was something that really grabbed you and pulled you. That you felt like when it was new to you, that was a skill that you really wanted to work on. I feel like I also struggle with this a good amount because there are a lot of different things I want to learn as well. I remember reading and hearing from a different interview that you try to learn like a new skill every month or something. But at the same time, there is photography and there is that one skill that you manage that you continue to nurture. So my question for you was, even though you are trying all these different new skills and even though you have this one, how have you gone about deciding which skills to try? And furthermore, which skills are do you how do you decide on which skills are worth really putting that time into? Like what are the key factors or points that fulfill that for you?
I mean, I think the way you sound did sound very organized, but like maybe it might look organized by end, but most of it is just like, have you ever gone like really deep into like diving into YouTube or Wikipedia, and then next thing you know, it's a black hole that you can't get out of?
I felt that before, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Like you click on one video, you watch, I don't know, you watch something about, I don't know, like a review on this microphone that's in your video, and next thing you know, you have no idea how 20 videos later you're looking up like lines in Africa or something really really random, and it has nothing to do with it. That's just pretty much my brain. Like I just kind of go down the rabbit hole of anything that kind of interests me, and when I'm interested, I learn really fast because I'm diving and I'm excited and I want to learn everything about this thing, and then next thing you know, it becomes a skill set. And I try to stack a ton of skill sets in the back of my pocket, because eventually things do come full circle. Like I'll figure out different ways to make things connect. And oh yeah, that's the other reason why I like advertising, because you have to be good at coming up with ideas, but you also have to be extremely well rounded. Like you need to be able to know a little bit everything in culture, how things work on this end, on this end, this end, and because like when you do, you're able to put and piece ideas together, and it's really important because you're getting paid a lot of money to come up with this, and you're getting put on the spot. So if you're not able to be at least somewhat even slightly knowledgeable of something, you're kind of in this industry, you're kind of doing a disservice.
It's yeah. For advertising, I remember you said that it does require you to do a lot of work and also to be everywhere and at one place at the same time. I'm curious about your because this is something I remember that came up multiple times, at least in the last few years. That's been a theme of yours, at least when you posted and when you've um, even talked about like resolutions and goals that you've had. But something that really resonated with me was your interest in the art of learning, which is basically looking at
Yeah.
learning as its own skill. That way, whenever you decide to try to learn a new skill, you have this foundation to be able to apply. So, if we were to try to, if we were to ask you about that, what do you, what are some things that have helped you learn to learn? What are some of the most valuable resources and lessons that you've learned for that case?
Let's see. The first touch point was hyper focus. The second point is in order to learn, you need to like know everything. You need to leave no stones unturned. Like you need to be able to like absorb everything. So for me, like my process is like when I dive into something, I just basically just fuck around with it over and over and over and just try everything. Because you need to do a bit of trial and error. You need to try everything out. But once you know the playing field, once you know what you're working with, you can get more specific into it. But initially, you have to mess around. You have to play. When I think of learning, I don't feel like it's a class. I feel like I'm playing and I'm trying new things. So everyone has a different styles. For me, I don't like actually ironically I don't like taking classes. I do really bad. I don't do very well when it comes to like listening to other people. I do very well when I try things on my own and fail. So for me, my best lesson when it comes to like learning things very fast is to fail fast, pick up quickly, and keep failing more. And the more you fail, the more you figure out what doesn't work, and then you figure out a solution of what works.
Do you remember any projects or occurrences or lessons that you learned in ad school? Let's put you there when you were first learning about the ad agency and when you were learning to become an art director, or what were you majoring in something? Just to clarify, what were you majoring to become an art director in the ad school, or was it just like ad school?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's
got it.
correct. You either get into it as an art director or copywriter. So I mean, the first thing, like the first biggest lesson that it took me about a year and a half to break through was the difference between an idea and execution. So just to kind of break things down for most people that don't quite understand, because this took me forever to kind of figure out. An execution is just a vessel, but idea is the actual message. So for me, like as a photographer, I learned how to execute. I learned how to basically shoot. I basically learned how to compose lighting, compose an object, shoot an object, make it look as beautiful as possible. But that's an execution.
Mm.
First and foremost, like I didn't know what a difference between idea and execution was. So I was like, so when it came to like different like uh, simulation briefs back in ad school, when they asked me to come up with an idea, I would just come up with a tactic. But there's no point in a tactic or a photo or a video or something if there's no idea behind it. So I think that was the biggest thing that I kind of like. That was my biggest challenge.
Is that kind of like the relationship between are you familiar with like start with why, like that Simon Sinek philosophy? Does that sound familiar to you at all?
Yeah. What about it?
It's basically just kind of the why is the essence behind something. What the reason why you're doing something in the first place. And then there's the how, right? Which is the way you send the message to somebody. Is this
Yeah.
sort of the same
How is the
principle?
execution?
Okay, got it. Got
Exactly.
it. All
It's
right.
like it's like an execution is this podcast, but at the very core, there's a very core reason why you're doing this. That's what the idea is at the very principle. And for me, like it just took me forever to grasp. And also the other thing is with the ad world, it's very niche. So everything that applies to it, all the definitions do not apply in something else like the film industry. All the definitions are kind of like their own thing.
When you say definition, is that kind of like the keywords like idea and execution, or did they get even more complicated than that? Can you give us an example?
All in general. I mean, like, yeah, I think just to kind of circle back, like what an art director is on set is different from an art director in the ad industry. Because art director in ad industry, basically, we're responsible for selling ideas. We're responsible for selling ideas and then getting them signed off so that we could go make them. An art director in like the film industry is more of like someone who kind of does set design. Like they visually direct like what's happening like in person. I mean, we do that, but like our role is kind of expanded to like a whole like multitude of skills. But our main thing is we need to sell an idea before we can actually go make it.
Got it. So the client comes to you, right? I'm sure this changes between project to project, but touching on your process for really getting into the idea and the message of something. Let's say, can you think of a project, whether that be like Oreo or something with Oreo or Mini Cooper, that you had the responsibility of coming up with the message and how how you took what the client gave you to work with and how you turned that into an idea, and also execution of it. Are there any
Um,
projects that you can think of?
it really depends. Like everything kind of does have its own idea. I think in the ad industry, like we are a bit of a service industry where we have to come up with solutions. Like brands, if they didn't have any issues, they would not hire ad agencies, but they need someone to help come up with like something fresh, like a solution to the problem. So for many, like what's all right, I'm gonna try to explain this without disclosing too much information because but anyways, long story short,
I can
they
always edit
needed
anything out, by the
content.
way.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll try to explain it. For many, they needed a ton of content. Because like they had like my last agency was called 360i, and we're responsible for social media. So we had to come up with like a plan of how to come up with as much content as possible, uh, pretty much without touching the broadcast project. So I think what came out at the end was we were trying to figure out a solution like how can we basically create a ton of stuff, because traditionally like a lot of these projects like one video could cost like 200 grand, 50 grand if you go super cheap, but 200, 300, 400, the numbers get ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you have to count like all the music, the actors, the production, flying people in, out, all the hours. Anyways, it's a lot of money. And then you're basically hiring a production company to create this. So everything kind of adds up. But how our solution was, we're just gonna go shoot it. So because I have a background in photography and video, I understood how to come up with social media content. I was able to come up with them a plan of action where I was able to create like a retainer of content in 2 weeks. And the way we did it was we basically got Minnie to take us on different cars and drive across the USA and just capture content around different cities in different pit stops. And yeah, I think in like no, sorry, it was about 2 3 weeks. In about 2 3 weeks, we created about 7 to 8 months of content for Mini to post.
Damn.
That's one hell of a deal. I don't want to disclose the number, but we basically did on a shoestring budget. So we brought a lot of value by solving a problem that they had. Basically because like like most brands don't really understand how to like, especially if they do broadcasts where they're for in a campaign they come up with 3 videos only and a couple of different prints to like put out there. How to come up with hundreds and hundreds of content, because social media doesn't really work that way where you have the same video played over and over for months. Like no one wants to watch that. So yeah, that was like the best solve and solution for them. And a lot of that came from like a combination of my understanding of ad school, understanding how to pitch, and just like my skill set as a photographer is to save them on production costs and everything. So basically, I was able to come up with like a whole suite of content ideas. I can't remember them off the top of my head; it's been so long, but and then just go execute them without allocating to an extra production company to rack up the costs and everything.
When they came to you, if I'm not wrong, because this is what you said, but when they came to you,
Yep.
the thing that they gave you was that our problem is that we need a lot of content. Besides that, was there a message behind that you had to follow, or did you have to kind of create that message? Was that you were
Yeah.
doing?
Yes. So I mean, the thing is, like every single piece of I can't remember this off the top of my head to be honest, but every single piece of content has its own little mini, like small little idea message that you have to sell as well. Um, yeah, but the biggest idea at that time was pretty much like how do we come up with the most content possible, and the biggest problem was like how can many break into the social media sphere without basically destroying their whole advertising expense on like a couple of videos.
Got you. Okay. So okay, that clarifies a good amount in terms of what it is you do, because at least just from an outside perspective of the advertising agency, or of the advertising industry, it's hard to put a finger on exactly like what each person does. So it's been good to be able to talk to you about your role in all of these things.
Yeah, yeah, nobody knows unless you work in it. Nobody knows, and a lot of this knowledge doesn't really apply to anything else. So it's like outside of the ad industry, I don't really talk much about it because it's not very relatable. I feel. I mean, it's cool when you show someone that, hey, look, I made this. Hey, check this out, I made this. where someone's like, oh no way, like, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, outside of that, like they're just thinking the end product, but there's just like so many different things that go into like getting to that final product. It's not too relatable for to explain to people. So sometimes I just don't bother.
I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Like, it's cool when you're able, and I feel like you're able to communicate in a way that I can understand. So I'm glad that we're having this talk and that you're able to finally
Yeah.
share a little bit of that. I guess consider breaking into your own personal routine. Do you have anything that you do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to kind of keep you going? Whether that be, I mean, practice or meditation or anything like that. Do you have any daily or morning routines like that personally?
Oh God. I don't know. My routines just switch up by like the month. I think the thing about me is like I think there's certain I think people have different phases in their life, no matter what it is. But personally, for me, I change on the fly all the time. I realize like whatever I'm interested in, like this week, I might not gonna be complete. I might not be interested at all whatsoever next week. Like for example, like I got deep into you already know this because you're on it. I got deep into TikTok like starting December. But I stopped posting since 2 weeks ago. I just
Even two
just
weeks?
went flat, just flat stopped completely. And I think it was just because it just didn't really interest me at that moment. You know, like it kind of boiled back to this the whole story of photography. Like I got really deeply obsessed in photography, and then I just kind of like I still do it, by the way. I just don't do it as much as I used to. Like I do it. It's like a skill in my back pocket at this point. You know that I know very well. I mean, everyone kind of knows me for it, but like personally for me, I don't do as much as I should. But yeah. So I mean, it kind of. Or what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So back to my routines. Like everything just kind of shifts. Especially TikTok. Yeah, but I mean, now that I dove deep into TikTok, I understood how to go viral. I built a following really quickly in a few months. I know exactly how to do it if I want to. But the question is, now that I figured it out and I turn all the stones on my end, it's like, do I want to keep going? I I just don't want to make this feel like I am forced to. You know, like I think the moment I feel like that's forced, the magic's kind of gone for me. You know, and at the end of the day, like when it comes to social media, the thing I try not to get wrap myself around is doing it for someone else, because the moment you start trying to please others and it's not making you happy, you just fall into a spiral of depression. So for me, like I'll do it because I personally enjoy it, and personally because I want to get a message out to people. Um, but the moment I don't enjoy it, I just stop, because if I don't, it just feels like dragging your feet like across like wet sand. I don't know. That was a good comparison, but
I know what you
I
mean.
mean, yeah. I mean, I'll probably start back in. I'll probably get back into it like in a week or two or three. But for now, I need to take a huge break. Um, yeah. The other thing about social media is like, uh, in order to have like really good results, really high following, really good engagement, high growth, you need to. It's a nonstop train that you have to keep pumping out over and over. So like, I need to like be able to like recognize that it could get real unhealthy for me, and just stop and just do something else until I get recharged and go back in again.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I was always curious about, because I realized that you were really A/B testing the shit out of that thing, and that you got your results. But at the same time, I'm curious, how many hours like a week do you think you were spending on TikTok around the time when you were really just pushing it?
I don't know if I could check my hours in Android, but I'm pretty sure it's astronomical. Like
Really?
more than probably more than 50. I don't know.
What
I
was
don't.
like the different percentages of what you were doing exactly? Were you researching on websites and like videos and stuff, and then also testing? Like, how would you break it down into what you did exactly?
Let's see. I posted 2 or 3 times, got no traction, and then I just went on YouTube, looked up tips and everything. And it seemed like the only people that are giving tips were like I don't know how to explain, like marketing people with no followings. Like what I'm talking about, like
Hmm.
people that kind of feel like they want to like set themselves as a social media expert with like 200 followers. And like these people were giving tips and tricks, and I was just like listening to them. I was like, what, it's better than nothing. Let me listen to it for now. Eventually, and then I was like, what, fuck it. Like no one knows what the hell they're doing. Like these people don't have a following, and the people that do have a following are not going to post this shit, because they have something already going for them. So I just went and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna use like my experience as a creative and as a photographer. Like I have a strength as a photographer. I can make things look beautiful, and I have strengths as a creative. I understand how to carve out a story that hits people's emotions and hits a certain level of human truth and insight. And I was able to combine them together and then basically just split test. And then I split test. I tried different things. I tried different messages, see what resonates with certain audiences. And then I treated it like an experiment. Like I had theories. Like maybe if I try this with this, maybe we'll do this. Oh, this failed. Let me try something else. I tried it with hashtags, without hashtags. I tried it. I tried it with a hot female in the beginning. I tried it, like just see if it gets people's eyes. And but I think what it kind of boiled down to is like, yeah, with TikTok, it's you just gotta hit people's emotions, like, and you gotta hit them quick and force them to watch it again.
Speaking on that is a really interesting way that you said that, because you're just like, you just got to do that. But I feel like the skill and the craft of storytelling is something that people have been pursuing for a very long time. And it's such a buzzword that, even though that's something that I've been pursuing for a very long time as well, the skill of being able to tap into people's emotions, like I have improved, but I've never really sat down and taken a master class or anything that's helped me like a lot with storytelling. So I, I know that may have been something that, because you said that everything that you've learned up to this point has been learned. So I'm really curious what your take on the skill of storytelling is, and is that something that you learned in school? What were the most helpful things that you learned about being able to tap into humans' emotions, being able to tell a good story, and where'd you learn those things, and what were they?
I mean, I learned how to tell it through photography. I learned how to tell it through ad school. I learned how to tell it through doing video, especially with you guys, the stance and everything. I learned it through just experimenting on Instagram. Split testing through social media through the years. After a while, like you start getting a good gut check on how things work. Um, and I think with storytelling, like you need beginning, middle, and end. I think depending on the platform or what you put it on, you just have to format it for that. With TikTok, it's all about hooking someone, baiting someone in, telling the story, and hitting someone with a punch at the end. That's kind of what it boiled down to me. What seems to work, at least. I'm still like I'll get back on, and that app, like, even though I figured it out, I'm pretty sure in a week or two I won't have it figured out anymore because things change on the fly. But for as at least at this moment, that seems like the way things go viral, the way things like take off and have a lot of traction.
Mhm.
At least for
How
me.
mhm.
It could be different for others.
Right. And yeah, it's always changing contextually, right? Like depending on the platform and the medium. But let's say getting even boiling more into the core.
Yeah.
And if there even is a core, like an 80-20, right? Like you like to refer to that, right? So like the 20% of skills, if there was something that you feel in your past or in your education, that 20% that has really helped carry you within your career and being able to break through, telling being able to send a great message, because that's what you're doing. Like I feel like no matter what you have been sticking your head into, a key component of that is being able to send that message in an effective way. Is there any 20% there that you may be able to identify, um, that helps you continue to tell these stories in all these different platforms, regardless of the platform?
It's a very vague thing, but I can compare it to a very specific platform like Instagram and everything, like, or I mean all social medias. I think the 80-20 rule is absolutely perfect. I think the reason why people are able to succeed very well is because they just post. You know, Sometimes it's not about getting things 100% perfect because you waste all your time doing it. It's all about just getting it just good enough, and just putting out there and just seeing how the world reacts. And usually you realize that most people don't even realize, like all right, if you're a perfectionist and you think that your stuff looks like shit, I'm pretty sure that if you put it out there in the real world, most people won't really gloss over that. So I realized in my head, like, I have a very specific perfectionist, like, personality, and I realize it's not healthy. Sometimes I just post. I think social media has always been my outlet where I just post things without thinking too much about it. And if I think too much about it, I stop. Um, because I work in the ad industry where things have to be 1,000% perfect, and because it has to be 1,000% perfect, it wastes all my time. With social media, it could be 80% perfect. Took me 5 minutes to make it. That's just really kind of what it boils down to. It's for my sanity. I think the 80/20 rule works really well. And, for social media, like, I'm able to generate pretty high numbers, high engagement. I mean, there's people that way higher than me, but I'm able to get it pretty well without thinking too much about it. And I think that's where the role applies to me most on that.
It goes back to your earlier philosophy that you like to back, which is to fail fast, right? To
Yeah,
be able to do rapid iterations. And I guess that
yeah.
makes sense because your career is in the ad right industry, which requires you to be at the top of your game. So something I'm curious about, because you are very much AD and you like to move between things, that isn't too much of an option, right? Because when you're stuck in a salary based work, a job. So whenever you do, if you do, end up feeling you're in a rut, or that you are kind of burning out in your career, in your job field, how do you like to deal with that?
You just have to force it. You're getting paid to do it. So, I mean, it's different when you do personal work because when you do personal work and you don't feel like doing it, you just stop. That's it. And no one's gonna put a gun to your head. But like, when you're working on salary based work and you work in the ad industry and like clients are signed off and you have to deliver ideas, even if you have no idea what it's gonna be, you still have to deliver it. And this is gonna force you to get better at what you're doing. Um, Sometimes you're not passionate about it, and sometimes I work on things that I'm not passionate about, and that's just part of getting paid. You work on things that are fun, you work on things that are not fun, and that's just part of the job. So for me, with advertising, it's something that I am passionate about as work, but it's still a job at the end of the day, and I still have to deliver whether I like it or not. Like that's just kind of what it boils down to.
Got you. But it seems like even though this is something that you just had to do, you still have been leveling up, and you moved out here and you took a job, and who knows what you're going to do next? Who knows what Kien's going to do next? So then the next thing I want to ask is, what do you think is driving you? Like, what do you think is one of the core things that are pushing you forward to wanting to continue wanting to do more and to have more? And I know this is probably something that changes. Our whys are always changing, but I guess at this present moment, um, what are you working towards, and like what is all this for you? It's very
Um,
meta, but if you the best you can do answer is
yeah.
me.
I think I'm just trying to live life and just fuck around, and just learn. I think at the end of the day, I'm just learning. Like I think that like setting like an end goal for me, like high up for me at this point, it's like I could, but like I think I just enjoy kind of like just kind of figuring things out as I go. I'll figure out a social media platform, or I'll figure this out, or I'll start playing a video game. I I, I need to be constantly stimulated and excited about something, and I always figure something out. Like at the end of the day, like the skill set I have is like I'm very good at putting two and two together. If I find something that has two things that have nothing in common or nothing related to each other, I'll figure out how to put them together. And the only way that I can do that is if I'm more knowledgeable about it. And the only way I'm knowledgeable about it is to just play around and just try around. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, like my philosophy in life is like work hard, but like make sure you have the time to play and experiment and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, man. You definitely have something that I think is just very valuable, which is that really powerful curiosity. And whenever you find something that interests you, you really push yourself towards it. Curiosity is so great, and it's something that when you catch that bug, because I definitely can relate to the feeling that you've described. It's great, but I guess it depends on people. Is curiosity something that you believe can be learned?
um I don't know, it's an emotion to me. It's an emotion. I dive on it. I just like the moment I get a spark of inspiration, I just go. Even if it's like 1 a.m., I just go because I'm just like because if I don't feel this kind of emotion, I can't captivate and take advantage of it. But when I do, So every time I do get that kind of emotion, I try my best at whatever I do.
That's dope. And is that something that you've
And it
done since
doesn't.
you were little?
Uh, yeah, I think so. I think I've always had like a heavily obsessed kind of mentality where I try something and I go 100%, and then I figure things out. I've always had that mentality.
That's cool. Do either of your parents behave like that at all, or do you have any siblings? Or are you an only child?
Sister, yeah, I have a sister, brother-in-law, and then I guess parents.
Yeah.
Let's see. My mom is definitely that person. She's an entrepreneur. She owns a business and multiple businesses, and
Oh shit!
she's
Really?
trying a brand new, yeah, she's trying a brand new project like every week.
Damn.
Even
Okay.
if even if it flops, she'll try head on. So I think I picked up her personality, where it just try things.
That's dope. That's really cool. The apple doesn't fall
Yeah,
too far to try
yeah.
aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like it's a failure. After you fail like a billion times, like it doesn't feel the fear. It's like, oh, okay, I guess it didn't work. All right, cool. Let's try something else.
That's very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that my advice to most people is like, stop giving a shit what people think about you. Like, I don't care what you think about me. And like, it's just like, I mean, you should to a certain limit, to a certain point, but when you start to care too much about others, about how other people think of you, you start doubting yourself, and um, you stop hearing your own voice. You start hearing other people's voices. I think it's really important that you just follow like your gut, what you want, and if you want it bad enough, you'll get what you want in life. At least that's always rang true to me. No, the rule is just make sure you don't hurt anyone. That's really about it, no matter what you do.
Right. I agree with exactly what you said. You shouldn't give a shit about what people think about you, as long as it's not harming others, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's great that you say that, and it requires an amount of self confidence and awareness to do that. We're wrapping up. I'm gonna let you go soon. Let you go to sleep, or whatever you're gonna do next. You're probably gonna
For
freaking stay
sure.
up. I don't know, but what is self awareness something that you like to think about a lot, and is that something that you felt like you had a good sense of growing up, or did you kind of have to achieve understanding who you are and what you like the best?
I think I think when I was younger I was trying to figure myself out. I didn't know what the hell I wanted. But I think self-awareness just came from me just putting myself out there and just trying new things and going out of my comfort zone. Like I think this, I try something and I'm like, this feels kind of whack. Fuck it, I'm just gonna put it out there just to see how it is. And if it's whack, I'm like, all right, I knew it, whatever, it is what it is. And if it turned out dope, I surprised myself. And like every time I try to just put things out there in the world that I feel uncomfortable, I feel a lot more comfortable. And eventually I realized that people don't care what you do. Like no one cares at the end of the day. And if people do, like you just basically just turn off the internet. That's it. Just turn it off before it kind of ruins you in the head.
That's a
That's
good
really
point.
about it. Yeah, and I realized like if I listened to everyone that told me not to do something in life, I would not be where I am at this moment. I don't know where I would be, but definitely I'm probably not as like not doing awesome things. I'd probably be doing something really typical.
I remember it does say in your description on your website that as with your perspective as a b-boy, it taught you, and this was a question I was going to ask you, but I found it, and it says like it taught you how to break rules, cultivate, and express yourself. And I think that's something really important that we learned through the art of breaking is being able to flip things on their head and not always go with the flow. And that is something that you just
Yeah,
kind of outlined right there. I agree with that.
yeah. I mean, like the whole breaking is, the whole essence of breaking is basically how to create something that didn't exist. Like you don't need a ton of money. You don't need much. You just need a healthy body and a floor, and you have to create things. It's your rules, your craft. I mean, there's certain rules in breaking, but there is rules, but there isn't really any rules. So it's like I was able to learn a lot from it. I learned how to I learned how to create moves. I learned how to learn things quick because as a dancer, you have to learn things fast, especially in your crew, and you have to learn certain choreographies and routines. Um, you have to learn how to hustle because everyone's a dancer. It's fun. How do you stand out? You have to learn how to everything about dance is just extremely difficult. It's because it's fun and it's oversaturated. And I was able to like basically take that exact same hustle mentality and apply something else and over and over and over. So I think the idea of dance has basically it's taught me a ton, especially with human interactions, how people behave. You already know the breaking scene is a giant high school full of prima donnas and everyone being raw and emotional and just people that bash are crazy. Everyone has mental issues in the art scene, and it is what it is. And anyways, like I learned how to deal with politics and emotions and how to deal with people. So like I was able to apply other skill sets, and I felt like I wasn't starting from scratch. Like I was starting from scratch with a skill set, but when it comes to like interacting with humans, I felt like I was evolving that from breaking to photography to like work in the agency world. So I was able to kind of like cultivate and use all these skills of the past to pretty much uh, project myself forward. So instead of starting from a bottom mountain, I basically just hop from one mountain to another. In other words, that's the best way to kind of explain it.
Yes, definitely. And that definitely goes along with your art, your philosophy for the art of learning, right? Being able to take a framework that you've been in before and then applied that
Hmm.
stuff to whatever else that you want to learn. Yes. Last two
Exactly.
questions. Exactly. And last two questions. This is just something that I wanted to touch on because you're a workhorse, bro. And it seems like even though sometimes, like you said, you're just dragging in the sand, you manage to get this shit done, but that won't stop you from feeling like low. I think as a human, like we all have our low moments, and we always feel like that
Yep.
lack of motivation. I'm curious, like, how do you deal with that? Like, because I'm sure you experience burnout a good amount of times a year, just doing so much work. So, um, how do you like deal with that? Your low moments when you feel like
Yeah,
you
I'm
just don't
slightly
want to do
burnt.
anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm slightly burned out right now. I think it's just like when I burned out. I mean, like if I have to deliver something because it's about because it's work, I'll deliver it. It is what it is. But I need moments to recharge. At this moment, I am currently recharging by just chilling out on social media. When it comes to work itself, like I'm just working. Like it's something that it's like it's my duty. Like as an employee, I have to deliver. As a I have to keep things, on a professional level, I have to keep it 100%. But on a personal level, like personal work and everything, I'm taking a huge break. Um, I feel really burned out. I really don't feel like creating because I feel like my job is to create. So when I'm, on my personal on personal free time, I want to do something else. And when I feel like creating again, and I get that surge, that zeitgeist to just go, basically just do as much as I can, I will 100% just like tap into that.
Oh yeah, dude, definitely. That's good to hear that you are an advocate of taking a break when you need to because I feel like, especially with social media and the pattern that it encourages with, you got to post every day, you got to post multiple times a day. It feels, you do almost feel obligated at a certain point, but being able
Yeah,
to control that is so healthy for you. And it's not like the world's going to collapse around you. Like you can disappear
yeah,
for a little bit. You're still growing. Like I think you're like
yeah,
180,000 fucking subscribers or followers on TikTok, and you haven't posted in like a week. So you're still growing, which is awesome. And
yeah,
when you come back, it's going to be stronger than ever. So that's
yeah.
the whole point of just being able to take a break is like, yes,
It's. I
preach.
mean, it's fine. Like all social media is like we take a break, your engagement goes straight down the drain. It is what it is. But like you just gotta like basically just give it a hard push, and you'll get back to where you were. And I mean, the other thing is like social media, like it trains you to be addicted. If you don't post, your engagement goes straight down the drain, and the next thing you know, if you take that break, your next 10 posts are gonna do terrible. It trains your brain to thinking like I should not stop, no matter if I don't feel like it. But I've been experiencing this over and over and having my own relationship with it. It's like I learned it's not worth it. And also the other thing is like I don't see myself as an actual social media influencer. Because like being an influencer is very difficult. And okay, even if you're like a hot babe on a beach taking pictures or whatever, because you're consistently always having to push content. And with social media, if you treat it like a job, you have to push content when you don't feel like it. And for me, like when I don't feel like it, I really don't feel like doing it. And so with as an influencer, like I take huge breaks just and because I made it not my like true profession. This just feels like my side gig. Um, I'm able to just like jump into it, and I feel good whenever I do actually end up like creating something for it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take a page out of the book, bro, because yeah, I'm not trying to get addicted to anything.
Yeah, I
Last
mean,
question.
yeah. You realize at the end of the day, like all these social, like once you learn how to like work social media, you could start from scratch again. Like you don't have to stay on the train unless you're getting paid and you have like a billion sponsors coming in, and it's like the only way you're earning a paycheck. I guess that's your job. So my job is to work in the ad industry. So that's something that I have going for me. So yeah, so social media is just my side passion.
Right.
More than
Cool.
anything
Thank you
else.
for that. That's a very good, important piece of advice for I think a lot of people listening as well. Last question, and this is just a more introspective question, is um, if you could give advice to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell them?
Uh, I don't know. I think I honestly think I'm gonna go track. Like, all right, there are things I regret in the past, but I think the first and foremost thing is like I try to push myself as much as I possibly can. Um, you know, I think if I was to look back, I would maybe work a little less. I don't know. I don't really have much regrets to be honest. I felt like you know out of all humility, I felt like I really pushed myself as much as I possibly can whenever I can, and I feel like I'm pretty happy where I am. I feel like if I was to die tomorrow, God forbid, I would I feel at peace. I feel like I gave it my all, and I think that's the most important.
That's excellent. That's an
Because
excellent answer.
yeah, because like the worst thing you do is live your life like unfulfilled, like not being true to myself. But I try my best to be true to myself every day, and it's left me with very little regrets. So yeah, I don't have much advice. I think I've been on a pretty good track, but maybe the thing is maybe I could have been a little bit more social. That's really about it. Like with friends, not social media. Like with friends, that's really about it.
Right. Yeah, King, you are definitely someone who pushes themselves and you get the work done and the stuff that you create is quality. You should definitely feel, and I'm glad to hear that you feel that sense of daily fulfillment. And your life is also just beginning, and I feel like I'm excited to continue being able to build a relationship with you. Thank you for being a big brother to me over Stance and just giving me advice whenever you can, whenever we meet. Thank you for your time tonight to
Yeah,
just
of
share your
course. I got
information,
you.
dude. Appreciate it. Um, is there any last words you'd like to leave the audience with on
Um,
your own?
have you put me on the spot? I have no idea.
That's okay.
I guess
You've said a lot
yeah,
today.
yeah. I'm totally blanked out. I guess oh god, I was gonna say something stupid.
That's okay. No, dude, say whatever the heck you want. You can troll even if you want. Say it.
It's
Just
all
say it.
good.
Okay. Just say it.
I don't know. Keep creating later.
That's cute. All right. I'll take that for now.
All right.
All right, Kien. Don't forget to follow Kien on Instagram at Kien Quan Photography and on TikTok at Kien Quan Creates. He's killing it. Is there any other projects or things you'd like to plug before we log out?
Um, I'm just creating. I'm just going with the flow. That's it. That's really about it.
Hell yeah. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Kien. Have a great night. And that goes for everybody else too.
Stay with you, Kai.
Everybody take care. Stay safe. Stay indoors. We will overcome this and continue learning. This has been Kien and Kai on the Crossroadz, signing out.